For the people, making a difference with each and every broadcast. Our common sense, straightforward approach is what you can count on, along with keeping America strong and prosperous for every American. For the People's mission is to inform and engage its listeners to get involved. If you believe in us, will you help support our endeavors on the air? For the People is listener supported, and because of that, we cannot be controlled by the Velvet Hammer. To make a contribution or to become a monthly subscriber, go to forthepeopleshow.com. That's forthepeopleshow.com. Thanks for your support.
From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life with all the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you to this Facebook edition of the broadcast. We don't do a whole lot of these. We haven't, but a lot of people said they enjoyed the last one, and we had an overwhelming amount of people across the country that viewed these videos, and apparently that's what Facebook, that's what social media is craving for, video. And I just kind of felt like, the radio guy is revealing his identity online. It's kind of what happened to MTV, where they think that the rock star kind of disappeared. But if you have a face for radio, can you make it in social media? We'll have to find out. But a lot of people are connected to Facebook, so this just might be a way where we can actually come by a video when we get reestablished 5 days a week, talk about different subject matter, whether it's social, health, politics. We do talk a lot about politics, and that's kind of been the framework for the People. But we want to do it in a way where it's just not, everything on television that you see, everything on radio that you hear. We like to do it in our own unique style. And I think that's what each individual show should be true to yourself, not trying to be like anybody else and just kind of marching to our own drum. And I think we'll continue doing that. From our studio in Tampa, a lot of people have asked us where we actually originate the broadcast from. We call it Studio 1A. That's our broadcast center. You can't see the control boards and everything like that, but maybe we'll have multiple cameras someday as we relaunch it, so we can kind of switch back and forth so you can see different angles. We have guests in studio. You'll be able to see them. And if we have them via Skype, we might be able to split the signal. But one thing at a time, getting us back on the air. I should mention that we do have an initiative on GoFundMe.com. You can just type in Keith, Keith, space, Allen, Alan, and you can find the For the People flag. And we've raised hundreds of dollars already. Our goal, $12,000. That's an entire year's operating budget, and that's what we're trying to achieve to get back on the air. So we have a budget so we can operate and we can do things. Megan is controlling things in Michigan, forming a corporation, the paperwork that needs to be done, making sure that the bills get paid and stuff like that. But first, we need to raise the money for that to happen. So we'll be on 5 days a week, and this could be the way that we'll do it, along with terrestrial radio stations that will be back on that have agreed that they'll take the broadcast. So that'll be delivered the same way it was done FTP, or if there's stations that want to carry it live, there'll be ability to be able to do that as well. But, you have to have capital. You have to have operating money to do that. Okay, let's get into today's news. I thought it was a little interesting. The Democratic field is wide open. You could have another dozen people get in. And that's okay. That's our democracy at work. People want to serve, want to make a difference in their unique ways. Beto O'Rourke, I think he's number 14 now, the El Paso former senator who really made a big splash in politics when he tried to come against Senator Cruz, and he raised a lot of money, $80 million. And a recent poll has shown O'Rourke, interesting enough, could be in the top 5 as we speak in Democrats. So a name to watch if you're watching what the Democrats are to do about money. It takes money to run for president, longevity to do that. And he really did not have the experts with him. This was really grassroots, and he used social media, much like Obama did in Texas, to be able to get as many votes as he got. But it was quite an amazing feat for O'Rourke. He lost by just 200,000 votes, of more than, 8 million votes cast. So that's not too bad to upset a Republican senator such as Cruz, very popular. But eyes were on him, and he said at the time, with the upset, with the money made, that he didn't want to run for president. Of course, the tune has changed, and officially a video was released this morning, him and his wife from El Paso. And I thought it was interesting where it was in the border town of El Paso, because they're making the border wall the big deal, just as the Democrats said. We're not going to fund the border wall. We don't need borders. We don't need those walls. We don't need them. Now, I have some interesting factoids today to bring you about the wall and why I feel that the wall needs to be built. Now, there are illegal immigrants in our country. Not a surprise. Are you shocked? There's illegal immigrants. Look, I live in Tampa, Florida, and we have a place a little outside of Tampa that they grow a lot of strawberries, and it's in Plant City, Florida, okay? We have the Strawberry Festival that's going on. It's very beautiful. The fact is, Mexicans, predominantly, probably like 99.99% are the ones in the fields picking the strawberries, picking our vegetables, and these guys and ladies are illegal. But something to note, these illegal immigrants are very, very hardworking. They have families. They're trying to take care of their families. And that's all a good thing to do, to take care of a family. What I have a problem with as a citizen of the United States is that you're not doing anything to come out of the shadows, as Barack Obama has asked you to do. You can come out of the shadows. You can be accounted for. You can become a citizen and all that stuff. And they didn't do it. And so I feel like we're kind of all hodgepodge in this big experiment. We're all together as races and nationalities and all that stuff. And that's America. But what's anti-American, and most countries would say anti their country, is that when you don't want to assimilate, when you don't want to learn the language, you don't want to contribute to society financially, tax-wise, you don't want to be on the dole, but you actually want the services. And there's trillions of dollars of services that are being rendered to illegal immigrants. The downside, besides all of that, is the ones that are bad hombres, as Donald Trump has called them, that come over the border. And there's a lot of bad hombres, and Democrats are supporting the bad hombres, the ones especially that are violent criminals. And this is what I have a problem with. No matter where you stand on the immigration issue, whether you don't want the wall, whether you want the wall, what's really important to note that there are criminals, okay? We have criminals in our country that are American citizens, yes. But we have an increase of gangs. They're coming in from El Salvador. Okay, that's not Mexico. But there are Mexicans that come over here and that are killing our citizens, and they're being protected by sanctuary cities. And that's what I have a problem with. Now, one of the, this just this one story, Kate Steinle, as you remember, she was gunned down in California, very, very sad, protected sanctuary city. And, the guy got away with crime after crime after crime and let back in the country repetitively. And this still continues to this day. This continues. Now, I'm talking about a lady right now who was 59 years old, and she was being stalked by a guy named Carlos Eduardo Carzanza. And he's 24 years old, stalking this 59-year-old. Her name was Bambi Larson. Broke into her home, was discovered by her son on February 28th when he checked in on her after she failed to show up for work. Carzanza was arrested. And after investigators linked him to the crime using DNA evidence from Larson's home, He was also seen on security footage stalking the area near Larson's home. And what's important about this, it was the day of her murder and well as leaving the residence after the crime was committed. They saw all this on video. They got it. But the transcript revealed something that I thought was pretty incredible that I noted here, that this transient's lengthy rap sheet goes way back to 2013 when he was arrested for crossing the U.S.-Mexican border, okay? And he was arrested 10 times. 10 times. Went out, came back, went out, came back. 10 times. And lots of crimes in between that. And he was on probation. And then ICE was trying to come in to get him. And then you had Eddie Garcia, the San Jose police chief. Eddie Garcia revealed at a news conference that ICE had applied 9 times for a detainer for Kazanza, which would have allowed for the suspect to be held longer than his jail term in order to allow federal authorities time to investigate his immigration status. But Clara is sanctuary status, allowing Kazanza to be released and committed further crimes, including murder, theft, vandalism, other altercations with people where he's bodily harm, injuries, etc. Anyway, the point is, these same Democrats or O'Rourke running on the same message, not allowing our federal authorities, ICE, to be able to detain these bad people that come in our borders and do these bad things, killing our citizens. Now, my point is, with the wall, I consider myself to be a moderate Republican. I try to hear from all sides, try to listen to the stories that come in. The stories about people burrowing underground, the tunnels that, no wall is going to be able to keep these people out. They're going to come in some way. Doesn't matter what you do. I've heard about stairs. They're going to be erected. They build walls. Mexico is going to build stairs. They're still going to come over. It's going to make zero difference. Billions of dollars are going to be taken out of the coffers to pay for a useless wall. Now, there are border officials that say that just the wall itself is not the idea. You need to have technology. You have to have a lot of people on foot patrol. You have to have deterrences. And what I see with the Mexican authorities is that they're allowing their citizens to make these moves. Believe it or not, it's much more difficult to get into Mexico than it is to get out of Mexico. You hear me? They're not really trying to deter their citizens from coming over here. You know why? Because money comes back over there. It feeds their economy. It feeds their people. They send money back from the United States, and it helps the Mexican government, ultimately. And then all the drugs, all the corruption, and that's the bottom line. It's corruption. If you're going to root out this kind of evil, you have to really take a stand on those particular things. The drugs have been an epidemic in this country for years. We've heard about the opioids going on. I think that the border wall, is a great deterrent in some ways, and in other ways, not so much. Now, why do I think that the wall would be important? I'm a forward thinker. And the way that I've looked at this, and the way that a lot of Republicans have looked at this, and the way a lot of Democrats have looked at it, is that it's a deterrent in this way. That if you can't get over the wall, you're going to have to find another way. How's that? Well, you get coyotes. You pay services for other people to do that. So more people are going to end up dead or spending money that they don't have, and God knows how that's going to work out. The old saying, if there's a will, there's a way. They're going to probably burrow, but it's going to make it more difficult so people can't just randomly go through it. People do die out in the desert. People do get shot by ICE when they come in with border officials. Unfortunately, it comes down to a lot of our citizens are being taken advantage of. Our country is being taken advantage of. And for so long, this is not just one administration. There's been countless administrations that have tried to tackle this border problem, but have miserably failed. The Democrats have failed. The Republicans have failed. And the problem is we have failed our own people. There's not an easy solution to the issue, especially when it comes down to economics, especially when it comes down to children. Because when it comes down to that, what are you going to do? Ship the parents out, leave the children here? You can't do that. And so it's very offensive to a lot of minorities when you see a president make these statements. Obama, he got away with a lot of the things with ICE because he was a minority himself. If you're a white guy in the White House these days, it's not so popular. If you're a minority running, that's probably going to help. Will the Democrats be able to use the border to their advantage if Trump actually goes ahead and gets away with the emergency declaration? The forward thinking on that is that I think we're going to have problems economically. The gangs are increasing. I think there's going to be an increase on crime. And I believe that as a result of that, it will be a great deterrent for future generations. And even now, I think that we've let our guard down after 9/11. I think we've done a lot of good and security precautions, but I really believe that Americans largely become complacent. And we have great victories with ISIS around the world, but there's always going to be masterminds of terror. There's always going to be people taking advantage of our country, and we have been taken advantage of. Just look at the amount of money that's being spent on handouts, and that's a shame. There's not a lot of programs helping people get into the workforce. There's not a lot of mentors helping people get in. There are some attempts, but government largely is definitely not the answer. We've always known that's not the answer, but instead people do rely on the government for those handouts, and the money comes from you know who, you and I. People complain the wages haven't gone up much. The reason being is we're paying out these programs for people to be able to get these free services. Nothing's free. Nothing's free. When you got men and women who are sacrificing their lives of service in the military, red, white, and blue, protecting our flag, fighting for our freedoms, it does make me sad to know that there are people that will never want to become citizens. And I just remember during the past election where there was people in California holding up signs saying that we are undocumented, unafraid. Proud to be undocumented, proud to not be an American, but proud to actually take out the handouts. I don't understand that. There should be greater accountability for people. You go into a swearing ceremony. I've said this repetitively on programs throughout the years. It is a beautiful thing to see people being sworn in and become citizens. It's a beautiful day for them. They enjoy it. And their children enjoy it, and our country benefits from it, and they become citizens, and they assimilate into this country. And if you do the same, you go into another country, if you go to Germany, you go to China, you go to Japan. My brother's been living in Japan for 20-something years. He became a teacher over there, and he loves the culture. He speaks the language. He loves the people, and they love him. And he loves America, but he just ended up staying over there. And that's a good thing. That's okay. It's all right. But the bottom line is he assimilated into that country. He speaks the language. He knows the culture. And there's a lot of differences. And one of the striking points that Fred, that's his name, my younger brother, he's about 4 years younger than me. He lives in Nagoya, Japan, by the way, if you were curious, is that Japan is very clean. Japan is very modern. Their infrastructure is just unbelievable. Imagine if we didn't pay out all these things. Imagine if we didn't have to do that, where we had so many freeloaders. Some people really do need the money. There are people that need welfare. It's people that need food. It's people that are sick, people that are disabled. That's what that was meant for. And it was just a safety guard there for people that needed these services for a brief time until they can get on their feet, not decades, not suppressing the citizen. But you know what? There's an element, and there has been an element in the Democratic Party that wants that dimension, because they end up voting for the party that says no. Do they? Or is it the party that says yes? And the party of yes seems to get minorities, and they don't realize it's actually doing more damage than good. This has been proven time and time again, and if people do the research, it will find this out. So I hope I have explained a little bit. The border wall is an enormous expenditure. People are just not going to stay out. People are not going to do it legal, especially when you get the Mexican government not doing anything about their citizens. And this is a logical, common sense conversation. And you don't hear that too often anywhere working with the government, with the Mexican government to crack down. Again, it's not happening. That's common sense, folks. And that's why For the People needs to be on the air more than ever. We got much more ahead here on the broadcast. Please go to GoFundMe.com today, make a donation so we can get further along so we can be on full time. GoFundMe.com and type in Keith Allen, KeithaAlan, and make a donation. We appreciate you. We'll be back right after this.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people, for the people, for the people, for the people is there.
For the People, making a difference with each and every broadcast. Our common sense, straightforward approach is what you can count on, along with keeping America strong and prosperous for every American. For the People's mission is to inform and engage its listeners to get involved. If you believe in us, will you help support our endeavors on the air? For the People is listener supported, and because of that, we cannot be controlled by the Velvet Hammer. To make a contribution or to become a monthly subscriber, go to GoFundMe.com right now. GoFundMe.com and type in Keith Allen, KeithaAlan, and get this historic broadcast on the air full time. It's been on the air since 1977. I took over for Chuck Harder over 5 years ago, and we're trying to revamp the organization. And America, we need your help more than ever, whether it's $2 today or even $1. If you can give $1, that would be awesome. You can just go to GoFundMe right now, GoFundMe.com. Before you forget, GoFundMe.com and type in my name, Keith, Keith, space Allen, Alan, and you can see a little about our revamp, our plan, our initiatives across the country, and what other people are saying about the broadcast, and see our progress. We've raised $500 at this mark, and we got we need $12,000. So we got close to a month's worth of operating capital. We got further to go, but I know we can do it together.
It was a huge pill to swallow. Being told that you'd never breathe on your own, be able to walk on your own, or being able to feed myself on my own completely changes you. You have to realize who the new you is while living with the limitations that you have on a day-to-day basis. I was sitting on the couch contemplating, is my life really worth it? Wounded Warrior Project showed me that I am worth it. My first event was a soldier ride in Seattle, and I got to ride 50 miles on a hand cycle that I borrowed from them at zero cost to me. All I had to do was show up. I'm so thankful that Wounded Warrior Project was there to help me. Being able to open up and not having to re-explain everything that's going on in your life because they get it. I know of no other veterans organization that has been able to help me get to where I am now. Where I started off barely being able to move my arms to now being able to walk without holding on to anything. I am living proof.
Go to IamLivingProof, WWP.org. And we are live on Facebook as we speak. For the People. This is like having our own TV channel. Not everybody can look so sexy on the microphone. You know, radio guys, we wear T-shirts. We don't wear suit and ties. So you never know what I'm going to wear. But I will always be dressed, I assure you. That's one thing that I will do. So I'm reading through some articles, periodicals, the Washington Post magazine, talking about a revelation from Nancy Pelosi, another example that the Democrats casually admitting that everything they've been doing since Donald Trump has been in office has just been a sham. Not a surprise. And coming out of the mouth of who? Nancy Pelosi herself, explaining it, saying it's not worth it. He's not worth impeaching. Do you hear that? Nancy Pelosi. Democrats casually admitting that everything they've done to this country through their obscene accusations against the president and his supporters was a sham. Now, after all, if you believe that the duly elected president of the United States is actually a foreign agent, Nancy Pelosi, if you actually believe that, and everybody that subscribed to that notion that Trump was a foreign agent, he was a pawn of Putin. Okay, this is what CNN's revealed. This is what ABC is revealed. This is what NBC is, the Washington Times. If that was true, then how in the right mind, as a patriot, Nancy Pelosi, could you just say it's okay, it's not worth it? That's saying that the country's not worth it. America's not worth it. Folks, if Donald Trump was an operative, if he colluded with the Russian government, he would be ejected. He himself would be in jail with Manafort, okay? And he rightly deserves to be in prison. Everybody's feeling sorry for Paul Manafort. In a way, I feel sorry for him, but he knew what he was doing. It's a shame because he's worked with several presidents through the years, including the Gipper, Ronald Reagan, which was a high honor to work with Ronald Reagan. But Manafort, he took advantage of our tax system. He did, if anybody colluded, he did. And he made a lot of money off Ukraine, which was just insane. And, just hurt our country in these ways. And it's a shame. And he did it out of greed. He had a lifestyle. He had more suits and more houses than anyone ever deserves. Lived lavishly. And now he's in a wheelchair in a federal penitentiary. And he's going to be serving a lot of time. Not in very, very good health. It's a shame that his wife needs him, but he should have thought about that when he was running around doing all of these things that were extremely illegal, and all the money that he made and tax evasions. It's just ridiculous. It's a shame that he's in that predicament, but you and I, if we did these things, we would have they would be locking us up. We may not be front page news and may not be touted across the TV, but made an example. And I think it's rightly so. They were able to get him, but they said all along it was the president, that he was the one doing it all along. President Trump did not. These people did out of greed. A lot of senators, congressmen are very greedy, and we've known this, and they've been arrested for similar things through the years. But hard treatment, federal penitentiary, I don't know how hard that is. But if you're sick and you're aging, and you're away from your family, and you have enjoyed that lifestyle, federal penitentiary is going to feel like a penitentiary. It's not going to feel very, very good. It's not a state penitentiary. I don't know if the guy's going to be doing putt-putt golf from that, but he's got some time to think about what he did. The interviews should be interesting because, he'll probably have some interviews from prison. And maybe he'll find the Lord. Maybe he will repent and really, truly be sorry for it. You can be sorry for it in the courtroom. The judge wasn't buying it when he said he was remorseful at that moment. People are usually remorseful because they actually get caught. So the time that he's done, I think, was more than lenient. He could have done triple the time. Whether he lives another 7 years after doing this time, I have no idea. Now, all these Dems, they're coming in, Cory Booker, and just the names just continue going on. O'Rourke today, number 14. There's going to be another announcement, several announcements before it's all said and done. There are a lot of striking resemblances to John F. Kennedy. They're saying with O'Rourke. Do you see JFK in O'Rourke? I will tell you that anybody that's been around since the 1960s, okay, the Democrats were a whole lot different. Their tune was a whole lot different, actually strikingly similar to Republicans. The Democrat of the time that JFK and Bobby Kennedy were around is not the same Democratic Party that is instituted today. As a matter of fact, that anybody that calls themselves a Democrat that had no understanding of what I'm talking about would not be very proud of the party. And it's not a conspiracy, we know that they were shot because of the difference they would have made in this country. And how radically different in a positive way. If JFK lived and Bobby Kennedy lived, the country would have been a lot different. They were very conservative. Listen to the speeches. Listen to what they stood for. We need more people like that. But it's amazing when you had Barack Obama trying to evoke the names of other presidents like Great Abe, Great Abraham Lincoln from the great state of Lincoln, Illinois, not Illinois. He would love to invoke him. And similarities between O'Rourke, okay, and Barack Obama is these people got nothing accomplished, okay, as congressmen. Obama missing in action. O'Rourke really missing in action. And Trump, of course, weighed in on all this already. A lot of Republicans have weighed on them. Not very impressed with his running. But look, the field's wide open at this point. Whatever you want to do, they can do. But the left, you think, would have learned after Hillary Clinton, making excuses. Now, O'Rourke, he came on a little bit earlier and said a few things, and I have some audio that you can listen to. But talking about how he wants to institute universal health care. Now, this is nothing new for the Dems, but this is a hot button issue for people that, you know, are not working and they want cheap health care. But he knows that there is a price to be paid for this. Well, here's a little audio.
On your mind to answering your questions, and even better, if you want to pose the solution to your question from your perspective, from where you live, from how you see things, I am all ears right now. There's no sense in campaigning if you already know every single answer, if you're not willing to listen to those whom you wish to serve. And that's what brought me here, along with hopefully a cup of coffee. So with that, raise your hand, I'll call on you, and we'll take it from there.
All right, they're trying to find a microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
Hand her the mic. We can't hear her.
I know some of the candidates are proposing Social Security for all. Some are proposing improvements to Obamacare. And I was with my daughter this week. She needed a prescription very badly.
I'll repeat the question.
Okay. She needed a prescription very badly. It was $444. After insurance had paid $168.
Oh my.
And I just wonder what your position is on that and how you would handle that.
And you said the price after insurance kicked in was $144? $444.
It's an issue.
Great question. Her daughter has insurance, so is covered, but after insurance kicks in, her prescription still costs her $444.
Wow.
And the spirit of the question is, there are a lot of proposed solutions to fixing our healthcare system. What, Beto, do you think we should do? And I think we should begin with the end. What is it that we are hoping to achieve? In my opinion, it is guaranteed high quality healthcare. Why do I say guaranteed? And for everyone, universal. Why do I say guaranteed?
Yeah.
Guaranteed because in the instance that you just shared with me, or the knowledge we have of a school teacher in Texas who year before last died of the flu because her copay on her flu medication was $119. It is not enough to be covered. It is not enough to be insured. We absolutely must be guaranteed the ability to see a doctor, to take our child to that therapist, to afford the prescription that could literally save our lives, certainly improve our lives.
Okay, listen.
So I think that has to be the goal.
Okay, first of all, she saw a doctor. You can see a doctor. There are clinics. You can go to the emergency room at any time. These things are just not explained intelligently enough. Yes, you can go to an emergency room at any time if you can't get into a doctor's office. And that's a constant thing that you'll hear. If this is an emergency or if this is an after-hour emergency, you can go. Now, I know people are hurting with the copays. That's a hard thing. This is nothing new. Things are going up. Big pharma needs to be held accountable. A lot of these drugs and prescriptions are way, way too expensive. But the trillions of dollars that it costs to operate, to do this, to provide this, the Obamacare was just such a scam. You can keep your doctor. It's okay. It doesn't work that easily. And this is another issue, and maybe as complicated, if not more complicated, than the border issue. These are hot button issues. And folks, these things are passed down to administration, to administration, to administration, to administration. And it's another hot button item, okay? And that's just one of them, because you got these bleeding hearts that are out there listening to it. And that's an interesting thing to be able to kick off this election with, is free health care for all. Oh, isn't that nice? And he admits it's going to cost a lot of money, but it's well worth it if people are not dying of the flu. People are dying every day, folks. It's a reality. I'm going to die, and so are you. It's something that I don't sit there and fantasize about, but it's a reality that we all know one day. Now, there are people that legitimately need medications. I think people do pay way too much for medications, but again, you got to have some controls on that with big pharma, but yet at the same token, they got to make some money. If we lived in a perfect society, people would hardly pay anything for medications. It has to be regulated, just like you have to regulate and rein in businesses and things like that. And that's why we have those checks and balances. But again, why can't we just have these common sense roundtable discussions with politicians? Unfortunately, they know that these issues are way more complicated. It's just easier just to throw, we're just going to do this and we're going to do that. And then when they don't get the passing and when they don't get what they wanted, they just apologize, or they'll blame it. They'll say it's those darn Republicans that didn't allow us to do it. And they'll just pass it down to another administration and so forth and so on. Folks, be smart about it. Listen to the rhetoric, because a lot of it is rhetoric coming out of their mouths. They have to have some hot button issues to get you all excited about. They know the buttons to push. Now, O'Rourke used social media, had a few advisors, but really didn't have any national people. Now he says he's going to bring on some national people and exploratory, because it's a much bigger deal. So he's going to pay attention to those polls, going to pay attention to those numbers when they come out. But folks, you need to pay attention to what Obama said. You need to pay attention to what Trump says. And one thing that I got to tell you is revealing is, if you listen to any Trump speeches, the man has followed through on his promises. And one of the big ones was the wall. And why I believe we have to build that wall is because most of the people that voted for him wanted the wall. So I don't believe they're going to let him down. It's a promise that he has to keep. He knows he has to keep it. Is it his butt? He wouldn't say it was political, but it is political. Let's be real. Unfortunately, it looks like that. But it was a campaign promise that he made to his base and to America. Is it a bad thing to have a wall to try to protect us? Look, walls are built all around the world. Yes, the Great Wall of China. That's the obvious. You get the Pope, okay, God bless him, talking about the wall and that he doesn't want the wall. He's got a wall around the Vatican. If it wasn't important, then why don't he tear that wall down? Why doesn't he get rid of his security detail? Because walls protect, and they've been protecting people for eons. Cavemen lived in caves. Folks, we have to have borders. Let's be realistic about this. Democrats fully know this. They're using the race card. They're using people's races. And that's a very racist thing to do, to use races against races, to aggravate. And that's what the Dems have been doing, aggravating the situation. We're going to impeach Trump. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. She just said it's not even worth it. Oh, he's not worth it. Basically, it's saying the country's not worth it. It's such a dumb, lame thing to say, Nancy Pelosi. But not a shock. That's the best they can do. This is kind of like getting ready for another Hillary apology tour with a book apologizing. Folks, just take responsibility for once. Wouldn't that be refreshing to have somebody just take responsibility, let the pieces fall where they may, regardless of the outcome, a little transparency and a little honesty go a long way. And that's really hard to find. That's like an oxymoron in politics. You got to admit it. An honest politician. You say, how do you know if a politician's lying? As long as his lips are moving. Folks, you know, and there's some good people out there in the local bodies of government and nationally speaking. And I know this, you know this, and you vote for good people. There's the good side of politics and there's the bad side. If you spend any time like I have in the nation's capital and working for the people all these years, you know that power can be very destructive and can be very dangerous. I work for a man that started the first 24-hour all-news talk network, the People's Network, Chuck Harder, and Hillary Clinton destroyed this man with an 18-year audit along with Bill Clinton because he spoke truth to power. When you do that, you take heat. And people don't like it when you call people by name and you call them on the carpet. And especially when you open up minds to truth, things that are happening around them, so they can think for themselves intelligently. Why do you think some people go to college? So you can critically think. You can actually think for yourself. A lot of people are not thinking for themselves. Not a surprise. If they watch CNN, they believe everything they hear. They watch ABC and CBS, believe everything they hear. I believe everything the Democratic Party says. I believe everything the Republican Party says. Do you? Do you really believe it? Have a mind. Do some research. Do your due diligence. Get a perspective, a round perspective. It's important to engage the brain. That way, we won't have so many idiots walking around. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them in our country that need common sense. And this is the direction that For the People really goes in. And we cover a lot of conservative issues. But we do it, folks, unapologetically in a Judeo-Christian fashion. And we do it because we love America. We do it because we believe in this country, and we believe in its people, and we believe in our potential. And I believe that America's days, the best days, are still ahead. I think Ronald Reagan, when he said the bright city on a hill, talking about that in that speech, folks, our potential is unlimited. I don't think we've even begun. I mean, we're so young in the great scheme of things as our democracy, rolls on. At 300, will we be any better? I think we can get better, but we have to be educated. We have to be smart. We need to learn from each other. And I do believe we need to stop hitting below the belt. Too many politicians do it. Too many people to go for this politics of destruction. And that's really just unfair on either side. And we see it. And believe me, it is a blood sport. They said politics can be that. And we'll see as things heat up, it really does get ugly. When they get personal with their spouses and just say things and make things up. And that's really pained me, honestly, with Democrats that have said unduly things about Donald Trump and how stupid he is and how incompetent he is and how retarded he is and all these things. And it's simply untrue. You don't become a billion-dollar corporation. You don't do the things that Donald Trump has done, led the life that he has, being dumb. Now, has he said some things that are a little off the wall? The guy's an entertainer. The guy's lived in New York. The guy's lived this life. And, unfortunately, he said some things, done some things that are a little AWOL, but haven't we all kind of screwed up? We may not have done some of the things that he's done, but has he done anything so questionable that you want to impeach this guy? Nancy Pelosi says no. And folks, as well as I know, that Donald Trump loves this country. He ran for president because he believes that we need a man in there that can fight for the American people, that wasn't a part of the establishment. That was the appeal. We need to remember this. As conservatives, we need to remember why we put him in the White House. The economy is doing terrific. We are making great headway with ISIS around the world. Great headway. Terrific things are happening, folks. The military is being built up. Infrastructure is being repaired. Folks, minorities are working. Unemployment is down. Housing is up. Folks, things are good in our country. And I believe that Donald Trump has an excellent shot at re-election. So as the Dems heat up, doing their thing, doing their dance, don't get excited or upset about it. Watch it. It's very interesting. Listen to what they say. More importantly, listen to what they've done. See their records. We'll be talking about their records, each and every single one of them. As we see them on television, we'll reveal what their accomplishments are. Donald Trump's had so many accomplishments and so many victories that to me it was a no-brainer to know that we're going to put a businessman in to correct a lot of these deficits in our country with common sense approaches. You get the lying media and you get the left calling him everything under God's name, and then you get these comedians that does get under his skin at night. I'm like, Donald, calm down. Just let them say what they're going to do. They rake. They raked George Bush, Jr., Sr., Ronald Reagan. Obama, they kind of gave him a pass. They'd poke fun at him, but they weren't as ugly as they are with Trump. Let him do it. I think Trump will go down as a great president. A lot of great accomplishments, but we have to remind ourselves what it was and why it was that we voted for him. I do feel safer knowing that Donald Trump's in the White House than having Hillary Clinton or crooked Hillary in the White House. And thank goodness she's not running. Aren't you just thrilled about that? Yes, she's not running, but Joe Biden is most likely going to run, and he probably will be the contender. So I break it here. I believe that he'll be the favorite amongst Democrats to run. I think he'll get the nod. Do I think that he's going to get so many votes that it's just going to up? He's going to have a message that will electrify America like never before. It's going to have to be Barack Obama-ish. You know, Barack Obama will be out there on the stump. That's Joe. We're probably not raking him about his gaffes because, you know, he's got hundreds of gaffes through the time. So he's going to have to work on that. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Please help us. Go to GoFundMe.com today and type in Keith Allen, KeithAlan, and make a donation to help us with our $12,000 goal. We need your help more than ever. Keith Allen for the people saying all the best. May God bless.